a very, very Merry Christmas to all of you and a fine New Year. Gu Yule Tilala, Og Ha Agut Neat Or. It is wonderful to speak with you at Christmas and to share my concerns about the lack of unity in the church. So we're going to review, as my Christmas message, why the left appears to have such a concerted effort. They work in unison with common goals, and why it is that Christians are failing to do so. Relationship between global leaders who operate for one another's mutual benefit. Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, are both influential figures in the fields of technology, philanthropy, and global affairs. They have both participated in the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, where world leaders, business executives, and other influential people discuss global issues. However, the specifics of their personal or professional relationships are not publicly disclosed. I wonder why. They likely interact in their capacities as leaders in their respective fields, but any direct collaborations or partnerships would be speculative without concrete information. Remember that I'm using Bing to do these searches, this artificial intelligence. And because it's programmed by leftists, it attempts to sway the conversation in favor of the left's perspective. But if you keep questioning it in different manners, approaching the same topic from a different angle, you can get it to reveal some very interesting things. So, to read on. For the most accurate information, it would be best to refer to their official communications or announcements. Please note that while these entities may be collaborative on certain issues, they also operate independently and may have differing views on certain matters. Notice, of course, it doesn't list what those matters might be. It's always a good idea to refer to their official resources for the most accurate information. Please note that this is general explanation and may not cover all specific interactions between these entities. For more detailed information, it would be best to research each entity's official resources or announcements, and I provide all the sources that Bing used below this part of the blog. If you're listening to the vodcast, the website of the blog is plugged into it. Just go to that website and you can read for yourself where Bing drew this information. So, next subtitle. Well, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab, as the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, WEF, plays a significant role in shaping global economic policy. The WEF is an international organization that brings together leaders from business, governments, academia, and civil society to discuss and address global economic issues. Through the WEF, Schwab has created a platform for dialogue and partnership. The annual WEF meeting in Davos, Switzerland is one of the most well-known and influential economic conferences in the world. Here, global leaders discuss a wide range of issues, including economic policy, climate change, poverty, and more. Schwab also influences global economic policy through his writings and thought leadership. He is known for popularizing the concept of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which refers to the idea that technological advances are creating a new phase in human development. And under this Fourth Industrial Revolution, he believes that the worker has now become nothing other than a useless eater, basically a waste of time, and that only the elite like Schwab really have the right to live an entitled life. Basically, they're attacking the middle class, not to mention, of course, Christian values. However, it's important to note that while Schwab and the WF play a role in shaping discussions and bringing attention to certain issues, the actual implementation of economic policy is up to individual governments and institutions. Yes, that's why he includes them all, to make sure they're all on the same page. The WEF itself does not have the power to enforce or implement policies, other than making it, financially viable for these people to get on board. Please note that this is a general explanation and again doesn't cover all the specifics. Again, listing all the information, the links from which Bing drew that section of this blog and vodcast. Next subtitle, what is the WEF? The World Economic Forum is an international organization that brings together leaders from various sectors such as business, government, academia, and civil society to discuss and address global economic issues. It was founded by Klaus Schwab in 1971. The WEF is known for its annual meeting in Davos, which is attended by world leaders, CEOs of major corporations, intellectuals, and journalists to discuss pressing issues facing the world. These issues range from economic policies and strategies to climate change and sustainable development. That's hilarious because something wouldn't develop unless it was sustained. And there'd be no point in developing it. So what they actually mean by sustainable development is a sort of development that they approve of, that will be sustained because they themselves put their weight behind it, not because it's actually sustainable. The WEF also conducts research on global issues, publishes a range of studies and reports, and facilitates various initiatives aimed at addressing these issues. However, it's important to note that the WEF itself does not implement policies. The role is primarily to serve as a platform for dialogue and cooperation. So on the one hand, it denies that it doesn't implement policies, but it creates dialogue and cooperation with those who will implement these policies on their behalf. Again, all the links from Bing. Next subtitle, the WEF's initiatives. So let's look at what the WEF is actually doing. The World Economic Forum has launched numerous initiatives over the years, focusing on various sectors such as health, environment, finance, technology, and education. Here are a few examples. 1. Strategic Intelligence Platform. This is a digital platform that provides insights on global issues, helping leaders in business, government, and civil society making informed decisions. In other words, this bit of AI, strategic intelligence, is dictating to leaders how and what their policies will be that will favor the WEF. 2. Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. This initiative aims to ensure that the development and application of emerging technologies benefits all of society. It brings together policymakers, business leaders, and experts to co-design new governance protocols and policy frameworks. Remember, it just denied that it was involved in creating government policy, and here you see new governance protocols and policy frameworks. Oh, AI, Bing AI lies. But the wonderful thing is, it proves its own hypocrisy. The next one, 3, is called Uplink, a digital platform to crowdsource innovations in an effort to address the world's most pressing problems. Yes, actually, they're creating solutions for problems that don't exist, that implement what they want to do. It is designed to link up the best innovators to networks of decision makers who can implement the change. 4, Global Shapers Community, a network of young people driving dialogue, action, and change to address local, regional, and global challenges. So there again, they admit that they're involved in influencing governments, especially by using naive young people to brainwash them into adopting their totalizing enterprise. 5. New Economy and Society Platform. This initiative aids to build purpose, inclusive, and just economies and societies that are environmentally sustainable. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list, and the WEF has many other initiatives aimed at improving the state of the world. It's amazing that since 71, when they first existed, nothing they've done has improved a thing, except to improve the size of their wallets and the amount of money that they're bilking out of the global economy. Again, all the links from Bing. Next subtitle, Justin Trudeau's relationship to the to the WEF. Justin Trudeau, as the Prime Minister of Canada, has been involved with the World Economic Forum in his capacity as a world leader. Oh yes, such a shining example of statesmanship. The WEF hosts an annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, where leaders from around the world, including heads of state like Trudeau, gather to discuss global issues such as economic policy, climate change, and more, and larceny. Trudeau has established in these meetings where he has had the opportunity to engage in dialogue with other world leaders, business executives, and intellectuals. He has also given speeches and participated in panel discussions on various topics. However, the specifics of Trudeau's involvement and contributions to the WEF are not publicly disclosed in detail. I wonder why. For the most accurate information, it would be best to refer to official communications from the Prime Minister's office. Oh yes, I trust his lies implicitly. Or the WEF. Please note that while Trudeau may participate in WEF events, the discussions and policies of the Canadian government are determined through its own processes and institutions, oddly, all of which agree in total with the WEF's initiatives. Please note that this general information may not cover all specifics. And again, all the links below. Next subtitle, Climate Catastrophizing as a Key WEF Concern. The World Economic Forum recognizes climate change as a significant global issue and has made it a key focus area. The WEF advocates for public-private cooperation to address climate change and promote various initiatives aimed at reducing carbon emissions and promoting sustainability. You know what I found galling? As a carbon-based life form that they detest carbon so much, which proves, of course, that they're really anti-human. For instance, the WEF's platform for shaping the future of energy and materials with its climate initiatives aim to help stakeholders from public and private sectors, civil society, academia, and international organizations to accelerate the transition to a net-zero, resilient, and sustainable world, which is a scientific impossibility. The law of the matter of conservation and energy dictates that when matter is converted into energy, there are always byproducts. Net zero is a scientific lie. It denies thermodynamics. The WEF also hosts discussions on climate change at its annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and publishes numerous reports on the subject. It encourages all countries and industries to take action and to contribute to global efforts to reduce carbon emissions. See, therefore, at the one hand, it says they don't involve themselves in the sovereign nation's decision-making process, and then it states that they do. Which is it, Bing AI? Which is it? You're stating two mutually exclusive propositions. However, it's important to note the WEF does not implement policies. No, its minions do. Its role is primary to serve as a platform for dialogue, knowledge sharing, and public-private cooperation. Please note that this is just a general explanation. It doesn't cover all specific. Okay, all the links from Bing. Now, how does these cooperative efforts from the totalizing left, this totalizing enterprise that's bringing decision-making under the auspices of these unelected oligarchs, how does that compare with how the church is organizing itself? That's the subject of this next portion of this blog and vodcast. Compare the coordinated efforts of the totalizing enterprise of these global leaders to that of the church. Now let us compare the concerted voices of global leaders on the left and how they cooperatively develop their policies through power organizations that engage politicians from many countries to adopt the policies they deem to be appropriate. Note the solutions are created to address non-existent problems that exist in their mind, since these leaders are comprised of the less than 1% of the world's population, of the richest and wealthiest, who view life as a zero-sum enterprise, where only their totalizing enterprise can address their belief that everything is in short supply, which excessive government regulation and taxation can address. First of all, the church is not an organization. It is an organism. Literally, it is the living expression on earth of the resurrected Christ, who sits at the right hand of God the Father, until his body has placed all the wiles of the serpent beneath its feet. Our pressing problem is division. In the New Testament of the Bible, the Apostle Paul addresses the issue of division within the church in his first letter to the Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians 1, verses 10 to 3, Paul appeals to the Corinthians to unite in their faith and avoid divisions. I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there will be no divisions among you, but that you would be perfectly united in mind and thought. My brothers and sisters, some from Chloe's household have informed me that there are quarrels among you. What I mean is this: one of you says, I follow Paul. Another says, I follow Apollos. Another, I follow Cephas or Peter. Still another, I follow Christ. Is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Were you baptized in the name of Paul? Paul's message emphasizes unity in the church and discourages followers from creating divisions based on their allegiances to different leaders. In other words, based on sectarian division, congregationalism. Sects are scripturally forbidden. There's the truth. He reminds them that their faith should be centered on Christ, not on human leaders. This passage is often cited in discussions about unity and division within the church. Please note the interpretations may vary, and it would help discuss the passage yourself. Again, I'll provide the links from Bing, but here are my conclusions for my Christmas message, and ones you're probably not going to like. But these conclusions will absolutely glorify the King of Glory, who's coming to earth as man you are about to celebrate. This is likely going to offend you, but since I value Paul's advice more than I wish to avoid causing you discomfort, let me state my point clearly. All sectarianism is ungodly. It prevents the people of God from gathering based on the example set down for us by the early church. Remember that it was those who believed the scriptures to the point where they used them to find reason to crucify Christ. For after all, this is why the leaders of Judaism had him put to death. They thought his teaching was blasphemy, since they didn't understand how Christ had fulfilled the scriptures rather than contradicting them. There are far too many Bible-believing Christians who literally haven't had sufficient revelation to understand that we will never defeat the doctrines of the false prophets of this age, whose purpose is global governments under an unelected body of oligarchs. People who are so narcissistically deluded that their entire belief system is based on what Dr. James Lindsay refers to as simulacra, namely a fake version of reality. How are we to defeat such things when the body of Christ isn't united in its conviction to meet, gather, preach the gospel, rebuke sin, expose fallacies when we cannot agree with one another in faith? From 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 26 from the King James Bible. How is it then, brethren, when ye come together, every one of you has a psalm, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath a revelation, hath an interpretation, let all things be done unto edifying. How many of you have attended a meeting conducted in such a manner? Ask yourselves honestly. Then wonder no longer why there is little unity of faith. So these are things to think and pray about as we get ourselves ready to celebrate the final Advent. And the day after, I suppose, is Christmas Day, isn't it? God bless you all. Guyul ha en et fint niet or